Hello and welcome. This is going to be a visual guide on the twining. And let's just jump right into it. So I got a comment from one of my subscribers. Hopefully you are a subscriber for this, because thanks to you, we're going to be changing things up a little bit. So before, I used to do these runs with just one job, or just one job in general. So from now on, I'm going to be doing them in 3 separate sections. So typically healer, tank, or DPS goes first, and then after the first boss dies, then I rotate to a subsequent job that I haven't done already. So I start off with healer here. This is going to be a scholar run through the beginning section, the beginning portion. And if you are playing a paladin or pretty much any tank, it is viable to use your invuln here. There are plenty of mobs. I actually was called a troll, quote unquote, before doing this specific dungeon as a paladin and using my invuln on these mobs. It is viable. It is a good excuse. You may as well use it. There are plenty of mobs for you. If someone calls you a troll, they are in the wrong, and if the rest of your party members agree with said troll, then they are completely wrong. This is perfectly fine to use your invuln in. Well, let's move on. So the first section is going to be Scholar, so I'll be doing the healing section at first, and honestly, Scholar is pretty rough. If you're going through MSQ, your gear is not exactly up to par, so if you can tell your tank or the rest of your party members to take it easy, definitely do so, because the first boss that we're going to go up against is pretty rough on especially Scholar, that depends on a lot of mitigation and focused healing. So nothing really to worry too much about these mobs. You need to, as a tank or a DPS, make sure you stun the big guys, because they do room-wide AoEs that could definitely put a big dent in your health bars. Thankfully, I have a pretty good tank here, but I may as well step away. So this is one of the AoEs that I would definitely stun if you're able to, as a melee or a tank. Go ahead and stun that. Just keep your eye on the big guys. That's pretty much the best tip I can give you. And with that, there's really not much else to worry about. The little guys, they hit hard, but just go ahead and mitigate as needed. So another section here, go ahead and grab the 2 large sizable mobs. As you can see, they're a broken pod. That's gonna give you a kind of an incentive of what's coming up here next. So again, just like the other big guy, make sure you keep an eye on the big 4-legged creature that you see there. It's going to cast the main head. It's going to hit forward cleave. It's kind of like a tank buster, so it hit pretty hard. Just keep an eye on the big guy there if you're playing the tank, and everything else should play pretty damn smoothly. He's also going to do a move here soon. There it is. Just make sure you stay melee, and you can completely ignore this. Other than that, just focus on whatever you need to do. Make sure you keep up on mitigations if you're running a tank, and if you're running a healer, just keep on your tank's health. There's really not too much to worry about. It's the typical AoE single target focus. So we're going to jump on this next platform, and then we're going to go left and go towards the first boss. As you can see, there's a lot of pods everywhere, and here there's a lot of mobs in their pods. Avoid hitting the capsules that contain ads, otherwise things will go a little more difficult for you. So immediately he's going to greet you with Algurium. You can avoid this by just stepping off to the sides, the flanks. It's going to hit the forward cleave. The next thing is Beastly Roar. It's an AoE room-wide. It's unavoidable. Just go ahead and heal through it. It really doesn't hit too hard unless your item level is low. Next thing is Forlorn Impact. He gets on his hind legs, and he's going to strike everyone individually. You're going to see a sword icon 1 through 4. Depending on the icon, he's going to hit you in a numerical order. Just make sure you do not get in between him and the target, and you can basically disregarded altogether as just one hit. So another beastly roar, and after that he's going to do pounce errant. Avoid hitting the pods with a circle. It's just larger circles, no stack. Typical things you've seen up until now. Next up is charge eradicated, if I can pronounce that correctly. The issue with this is the puddles that he puts down. It's a stack mechanic. It doesn't hit too hard. Just go ahead and, if you're able to, if you are the target that is being focused, you can actually set the puddles stacking on top of each other's. Because the fact that the puddles don't do actual damage themselves, it's the bleed that the puddles give. So the puddles itself don't do damage, it's the bleed that affects you once you're in the puddles that actually does damage over time. Another beastly roar, pretty simple stuff. So again, just like before, the issue from this boss is actually hitting those pods around. You don't want them getting hit because then you'll be having to fight adds along with the boss. And that's just going to give more strain to the healer and tank. Again, another forward tank buster. Remember, this hits in a cone in front of the boss. So if you're caught in the way, you could possibly get killed. And I've done that before. That is a very sad, sad moment when you get killed as the healer. So we're swapping to the monk this time. And I'm doing the midsection of the dungeon as a monk. Monk rules, make sure you keep up with your grease lightning, and everything else is just do it as you go. I'm going to be updating monk here shortly after I finish with the machinist up to level 80, and I will start off from level 50 and just go up from there. It's going to be a lot more detailed and a lot more informative, more effectively informative. So as far as mobs go, they're pretty simple, just like any other mob. There's really not much to worry about. These guys are pretty standard, they hit hard, and there's a lot of them. So on Monk, I'm running a standard 480 HQ crafted gear. The entire set is 480. The Scholar that I ran with actually didn't have the weapon at 480 HQ. I think it was 450. But either way, it was enough to get me through this. So another set of mobs. We got to grab them all. There's going to be a leftover one. I think it's the winged one there. And then we go down and then grab the rest of them. The tank was actually pretty good, so we just grabbed every single one of them. This is a good time to pop pretty much all of your residual healing from healers, because these guys will hit pretty damn hard, and there's quite a few of them. Honestly, there's really not much I can say. Some of them will do forward cleaving telegraphs. That's an indication of them not doing any damage from auto attacks, so you can go ahead and disregard that if you're playing a white mage. But after that, it's basically just do your best. It's a mess. So this one here is going to do Berserk, the ones with the long tails behind them. It's going to increase their damage. It's basically anytime they're below 30% health. It's what I've noticed it here based on the after commentary that I did on this video. And honestly, to goodness, if the mobs are about to die, just go ahead and disregard them and keep doing damage. So Mithridates, go ahead and toss your limit break if you have it. If you don't, make sure you toss it, make sure you get rid of it. First off is the Thunder Beam. It's a default tank buster. It hits pretty hard, but it's not that difficult to get through. Just go ahead and mitigate as you need it. So this boss is going to do a sequence from the electric discharge. At first, it's just going to summon orbs. You move out of the orbs, typically from their melee range. They will blow up after a certain time. I believe it's 10 seconds, but I could be wrong. Either way, the first segment is an orb. And then it's going to do the laser blade. Remember the orbs before? Yeah, we're going to talk back to that. This one is a pattern telegraph. Just avoid them as needed. And then finally, it's going to do a tank buster into the last telegraph. And this telegraph is basically going to consummate the final of the 3. Elegant Thunder. Remember the orbs? Yeah. This one is a no stack circles. Pretty simple, straightforward. Don't stack the circles. This is basically the beginning of the boss fight from here on out. So he's going to use all 3 of these telegraphs. Orbs, telegraph pattern, and the no stack circles. Make sure you avoid everything as possible. If you're going to get hit by one of these telegraphs, you're just going to get a debuff and sizable damage. Sometimes you won't be able to avoid everything, just do the best you can. Typically just avoid at least one of them, 1 to 2 of the telegraphs. But definitely avoid the circles, avoid the orbs. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty much it for the boss fight. It's just a repetition of tank busters into all 3 patterns in one. So here I get hit by an orb. As you can see, it doesn't do too much damage. It's just you get that debuff, and it does stack over time. So that's pretty much your only concern, is the debuff stackable. And of course, playing Monk, I just make sure that I don't blow through my Grease Lightnings while I grab all these items. Let's move on to the final phase. So finally, we're running with our tank. It's going to be Warrior this time. So as a tank, I'm going to illustrate just basically how you do things. Grab one, dash to the next one, grab the third. By using either your off global or your weapon skills, you're going to grab the last few mobs here, do your buffs, do what you ever need to do. You want to toss your mitigation tools. Typically the invuln is best as paladin. After your invuln is gone, or just go ahead and toss 2 of your mitigation tools at once, you're going to possibly toss a third if your item level is too low. And from here, just do your damage phase. Maintain 2 mitigation tools. I'm also going to be going through tank mitigation tools later on in a video once all these, once the machinist rotation is over and I start on my monk. And also shout out to Aiden Rue, if that is how you pronounce your name, one of my FC members. As always, you can join the FC, the Tempest Talons. You can see yourself in these videos. You can help me out to do content. We are currently level 15, I believe, FC level 15. We're growing very fast, very rapidly, and we only have 4 members. So if you guys want to join me, of course you have to be in the Discord and you have to be part of BRYNHILDR. So again, here, just like before, make sure you have 2 mitigation tools up and available. If you have a white mage, make sure that they've basically gone through their 3 AoE stuns before you toss any mitigations, at least any heavy mitigation tools, because their AoE stuns will basically stun everything in place. Not much to really say on these mobs. As you can see there, just stay at melee or within the circles and you can completely avoid all damage. Now these circles go off in an order, so just make sure that whatever circle went off first, that's the one that goes off after the animation. So here off, we're up against the first, or I should say the third and final boss. Let's go ahead and grab the items and move on forward. So if you have any recollection of Alexander, this is pretty much a redo. It's a lot easier than the original Alexander, but it's still pretty rough. So we have temporal stasis. You touching the stasis does a room-wide AoE. This is the Tycoon. Active time telegraphs are paused. That's what it means to be in stasis. So immediately he's going to do Magitech Crossway. It does an inner outward stasis line AoE. Warning, in 10 seconds after the initial cast, the telegraphs will actually go off and do a line telegraph. It's a very interesting boss, just like the original. It's just not as rough. Defensive array is basically the same as the first. It's just going to start from the outer circles and then it goes inward. Remember not to touch the actual stasis or you will get a big boom across a room-wide damage. So here I slowed it down for you. This is the artificial gravity. Avoid dark circles on ground. They get larger, so watch your step. Rail cannon, standard tank buster. It hits hard, so pop your mitigations. That went through Scholar Shield as well as one of my mitigation tools, so it hits pretty hard. Again, another defensive array. This one hits from inward, outward. Oh no, that's the outward one. Just reposition the boss if you need to. So now we have Magic Crystal, no stacked circles. They're pretty standard. They hit pretty hard, and pretty much everybody in the area. They may as well be considered room-wide. As far as I'm concerned, the stasis is pretty much the only issue you have to worry about. A high tension discharger is a room-wide AoE. It's basically the same as the Holy from the original. A Magic Tech Crossway again, this one goes from inner outward. I got those confused before. You can walk through the boss as you see there, it's fine. You can go ahead and reposition yourself by doing that. The only issue is of walking through the boss, you can't really see a whole lot. Just go ahead and finagle the boss around so you can actually see stuff going on in the background if the boss is facing you or you just have lack of vision. Another tank buster. So now the issue with this is when he actually tosses multiple mechanics onto you at once. So defensive array. So 10 seconds after the ability is casted or after the mechanic is casted. And now he does 2 telegraphs or 2 mechanics at once. So we have a Magitech and a defensive. The original will go off after the second one casts its 10 seconds. And now we have the third mechanic, so make sure you basically steer clear of the line telegraphs, just like you saw there. Just steer clear of the telegraphs. After they detonate, they turn into a line AoE. Another tank buster, and this is pretty much it for the boss. It's just rinse and repeat. Hello world, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to smash the like and subscribe here. You can also donate if you're interested in supporting the channel. There's some more content for you to watch on the right side. If you're interested in joining my FC, the TEMPEST TALONS, the info is in the top left. I'm mostly taking invites from my YouTube channel subs. And as always, y'all take care and good luck out there.